I wanted to cover some news that was announced during the KI dev stream recently. That was just a few days ago. And I haven't seen too many people talking about this. So I wanted to go ahead and make a video on this because I feel like this is pretty big news and not a lot of people probably know about it. But they did talk about during the dev stream that they are going through worlds and finding the problematic worlds that stop players from continuing questing, where players drop off in the game and they stop renewing their membership or they just quit playing. And one of those worlds, at least a world that was at the top of their list, was Celestia. Now, if I had to just quickly come up with some worlds that are problematic for players, I would probably say that Azteca and Chrysalis are definitely at the top, but they might not be focusing on those because those are way later on, and since Celestia is kind of earlier, they're like, okay, why are people not continuing in Celestia? There's got to be some problems there. So they're looking at the mobs, and they're probably going to just nerf mob health. Maybe they did say they're going to take out some mob spells that are, causing issues for players, like Wild Bolt and Mantle. Maybe some other ones, like there's plenty of spells that, when they give mobs, that they gave those mobs that spell in order to cause problems. Like Smoke Screen is one of them, and Choke probably. Those are some fire spells. But yeah, the Weakness. So any of those spells, I don't know if they're going to remove all those spells, but they're definitely going to look at those. They say they're going to follow the models that Wallaroo and Selenopolis follow with the mobs, where the health isn't, over the top difficult. I personally think that makes it super easy because if you guys have played through Wallaroo, Selenopolis, the mobs are no problem. The mobs, you just go in there and you smack them one turn and, you're done. So mobs, I don't know. I don't feel like the trend or the model that they're using for higher worlds is really, that difficult. But maybe it's because at higher level, we have crazy stats and it just makes it super easy. I don't know. But yeah, they're going to be nerfing mobs and probably bosses too. I don't know if they're going to look at bosses, but definitely they're making the Celestia experience easier than it currently is. They're also looking at adding teleporters at certain places so that it's easier to traverse through things. They did this in Arc 1. They did a pretty good job of going through Arc 1 and putting teleporters like everywhere. So they're probably going to make sure they do that. I know Celestia does have teleporters, but maybe they're looking at places where teleporters aren't and adding them there. So another change that they're making to Celestia is they're adding a new set of gear that will drop in Celestia that's going to be auctionable. And I think it'll be level 60 or like around that, maybe 55 to 60. And they're adding this gear into the game so that players can sell it in the bazaar, and then people can grab this gear as they're questing, even if they haven't farmed this gear, in order to kind of ease that curve of, looking at the bazaar, seeing if there's any gear that you could upgrade, and then just buying it right there. I love to tell people just to check the bazaar every 5 to 10 levels as you're leveling to see if there's any good gear for you. But this strategy really does fall off after Arc 1, and King's Island knows this. So they're adding in new gear in Celestia that can be sold into the bazaar, and then players can just go ahead and pick that up, and you'll have some decent gear for level 60. Yes, the best gear for level 60 is still going to be Waterworks, and once my balance gets there, I'm probably not going to go for this new bazaar gear. Maybe briefly, if I can just find some in the bazaar, I'll just go ahead and grab it because, why not? It's usually pretty cheap, and you can just get that and have a little bit of an upgrade. But I will be farming Waterworks on my balance. For me, going for the absolute best gear is, I don't know, just what I'm used to. I don't think this gear is going to be too comparable to Waterworks, but I don't know, maybe it's like just slightly worse. I'll have to see the stats on it. But it's still a good thing that they're adding this into the game because it gives players options to have other gear for level 60. If you don't want to farm Waterworks, then you can go ahead and just use bazaar gear, and the bazaar gear will actually be decent compared to Waterworks. It's not going to be as good, but it could be, enough to get you from level 60 to 70. Alright, so what do I think of these nerfs overall? Do I think they're necessary? Are they doing too much to these worlds, making them too easy? But I feel like this is kind of the trend that Wizard101 is going for, is they want the mainline questing to be easy, definitely on the easier side so that more players can get through their game. And if they have difficult worlds, and everyone knows this, Celestia is a big upgrade in terms of the enemies and everything, and you do have to have decent gear in order to, progress through this world. They know that, and they want the game to be easier for the casual player. so the average player can go through this and not have any trouble and continue playing their game, because if they can get players to continue through their game, then they're going to make more money off of the memberships, off the crowns, and the retention that they keep of that player could end up with that player spending more. If players are complaining about one specific thing or one specific mob, then they're going to change it eventually, because they don't want players to feel like they're stuck on any part in this game. A big thing that I can, just recall off the top of my head where players were complaining about was in Zafaria with those collect quests. Those quests, especially the Fire Lion Ravager, those quests were notorious for being difficult because the mobs were difficult and the drop rate was horrible, and you had to collect 10. So overall, just everything about that quest was horrible. They eventually changed that. They then went and decided to change all collect quests, or almost all of them, to be 100%. There are some that aren't 100%, but I feel like most of the collects in the game now are 100. So you will collect it every single time. And I just went through, Wizard City through Mushu on my balance, and that is the case. I don't think there was any times where I wasn't collecting any of the item that I need to get from the mob. So they have changed that. They've made the game better in that way, so that players aren't, upset about not collecting. That used to be a thing. That used to be actually a pretty common thing where you didn't collect. So they don't want players to be struggling through that, which makes sense, and they want to keep players. I feel like most things in this game have gotten nerfed over time. We've started with super difficult worlds and test room, like Mirage test room was very difficult. That got nerfed so hard. They've nerfed pretty much all bosses. Like Medulla got nerfed like crazy, Triton got nerfed, and then they just put these into challenge mode because they're like, okay, mainline can't be difficult. We can't have the mainline questing be difficult like it used to be. Do I like that? Not really. Sometimes I wish that they would add a world in that was difficult again, which leads me to think that they really need to keep adding good rewards to these side bosses to give a reason for players to do it. Because back in the day, people used to farm Omen like crazy, even though he was difficult, because he dropped really good stuff. He dropped perm mounts, he dropped the masteries, he dropped stitch gear. People farm that because of the rewards. People aren't farming things just for fun in this game. Like, I don't know why people would think that. Like, why you would farm something just because it's enjoyable. Farming isn't really enjoyable, but if you put some good incentive behind it, people will do it. That's what I feel like they did in Selenopolis a little bit with that Bling Cobra. That was a good incentive. They did that with the Hippo Pet. So there are reasons to farm certain bosses, and I hope they keep adding cool rewards for us to be able to go and get. Alright, so that is going to do it for this video. So let me know what you guys think of the upcoming Celestia nerf. I think this is going to be in the test realm soon. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have mentioned it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. Definitely subscribe for more Wiz videos in the future. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you all next time.